Hey, what's up everybody, it's Axel, and today we're going to be talking about the Lime Ears Terra. This is a hybrid IEM that combines one dynamic driver with 5 balanced armatures in a 4-way crossover design. The dynamic driver is a 7mm titanium diaphragm, comes in at around the price of 1,099 euros. And yeah, for some background, Lime Ears is a Polish company. It's known for working with audiophiles and professional musicians, so this IEM is made in Poland. That's interesting. So let's talk about what comes in the box. You do get this premium leather puck style carrying case with the Lime Ears logo on top. It's really nice and it feels like a fitting match for a product at this price point. There is also a cleaning brush which you can find here. You also do get a cotton pouch, this one, for carrying your accessories. You do get 4 pairs of SpinFit W1 silicone ear tips, and you do get 3 pair of foam ear tips. Now let's talk about the cable. The included cable is not a modular cable. This is a copper cable with a 4.4 termination. It's smooth, but it does have some stiffness. It's not exactly a very soft cable, and it has some memory. This is a memory prone cable, meaning if I add it in a certain shape, like if I wrap it and I leave it, it does take a shape and I have to straighten the cable out. Another thing is the cable actually has a small nitpick here. That chin slider is a bit loose and doesn't really stay in place. On the positive side, the cable is smooth, not microphonic, and tangle free and easy to manage. If I'm using it personally, I would use something like the Effect Audio Ares 2 cable just for the better feel, and the lack of memory and stiffness. But overall, the cable is what I will say nice. Or the cable works, how about that? Let's talk about build. And the Terra's earpieces are actually all metal. It's made out of aluminum, so it feels lightweight, durable, and premium. For those of you who love the durable, hefty design that comes with a metal earpiece, there you go. The faceplate is stunning. The design is beautiful, and it shifts depending on the angle. It can go from shades of green, red, blue, and lime, as you can see, depending on the angle you're looking at. So there you go, blue, red, green, even orange, like you can see. It's a very pretty faceplate. Fit and comfort wise, these are winners for me, but they do have a long nozzle, as you can see, and this could make it tricky for those of you who have smaller ears. Nozzle diameter is 6.3 at the widest point, which is the lip at the top, and the fit is very secure. I had zero discomfort even after hours of listening. Noise isolation is above average. This is an IEM that isolates a lot of outside noise, and despite the lack of vents, I didn't experience any pressure buildup issues with it. I don't know even if anyone had. So let's talk about the sound signature. Let's look at the frequency response graph. As you can see here, the Lime Ears Terra has a sound signature that kind of feels inspired by the Harman Target, but it adds its own unique twist that I absolutely like. It's a bit bassier than Harman. It adds plenty of low end and avoids the typical Harman tuck, and it has a well-extended treble, and the overall tuning just feels dynamic, balanced, smooth, detailed. If I had to describe it in 3 words, I would say balanced, detailed, and musical. Let's talk about the bass. Let's break it down. The Terra's bass here is a bit more focused on the sub bass. This is a sub bass focused bass response that impressed me with its depth, with its rumble, with its fantastic sub bass texture, and it basically sounds visceral, rumbles like crazy. The sub bass is more prominent than the mid bass, which, while I will describe it as good or even great, didn't really stand out that much as the sub bass. The mid bass took a backseat to the sub bass. If you listen to a lot of tracks like Deadmau5, for example, they have a lot of heavy sub bass, you will appreciate the quality that the Terra delivers here. But the mid bass itself, I will say it has excellent texture, it has excellent detail, sounds deep and full. Even the decay is good, which gives it a full and satisfying character. But when I listen to tracks like hip hop tracks and stuff like that, I didn't exactly feel the mid bass is punchy. I felt it could use a bit more impact. Drum kicks, for example, could use a bit more impact and slam. The bass though comes across as clean, textured, full, and I feel it will satisfy most people out there, and it provides a good foundation to the music. Now, when we move on to the mid-range, I think the mid-range of the Terra here is vocal forward, doesn't have that, usual Harman tuck, so avoids any thinness that comes with a lot of IEMs that have that Harman tuning. And there is an element of richness and warmth that adds a lot of body to acoustic instruments and male vocals, making them sound natural, in my opinion. Instruments have a nice body to them. The slight added warmth, gives them a natural tonality that that doesn't have any hints of shoutiness. Female vocals sound extended and natural, and vocals sit perfectly in the mix, clear and detailed without being recessed or uncomfortably forward. There's an excellent sense of separation in the mid-range, and everything just sounds forward, clear, and natural, with plenty of detail and separation. The treble of the Terra kind of leans slightly bright, but stays well controlled and smooth. It has a sparkly, detailed character with a slight emphasis on the lower treble, giving cymbals, hi-hats a forward presence without crossing over into that harsher sibilant territory. As a matter of fact, the Terra never sounded sibilant to me, even with sibilant test tracks, but the lower treble does come a bit forward, a bit emphasized in the mix, but not too forward to sound harsh or distracting, but it's just there to add that extra sparkle. And I think for those of you who love that extra sparkle in your music, you're going to appreciate the treble presentation of the Terra here. The upper treble is a bit more relaxed, and I wouldn't say the treble of the Terra is airy or shimmery. It's more of a natural sounding, sparkly, non-fatiguing treble that has excellent resolution and a lot of micro detail. In terms of the technical performance, I think the Lime Ears Terra excels when it comes to the technical performance. The level of resolution and separation here stands out and competes with a lot of high-end IEMs. You can find other IEMs that have a similar or, good tuning at lower price point, but what sets the Terra apart is its exceptional detail retrieval, layering, and the ability to maintain that clarity and separation during busy tracks. I think the detail and separation here is one of the stars of the show, the best qualities of the Terra. It delivers that effortlessly without sounding analytical or clinical, which is something that I appreciate. If I bring up my technical scale, I will put the Terra like 80% between the Pilgrim and the Unholy VX, which means it's a highly resolving IEMs that competes with some of the best IEMs out there in terms of detail and separation. Another impressive aspect of the Terra is its soundstage. I think the soundstage here is expansive, above average in width and depth, and it's really impressive. On a lot of tracks, the music kind of, surrounds you, and I felt immersed, and this is another standout quality. Imaging is precise with excellent spatial cues that makes it easy to pinpoint where the sound is coming from. And let's start with the comparison segment. I will start the comparison segment against the AFUL Cantor. I think the AFUL Cantor delivers exceptional resolution. It caters to different preferences here. I think the Cantor is a bit more detailed, leans towards neutral, monitor-like reference tuning with top-notch technicalities and exceptional separation. It's highly detailed, and it's for those who want the neutral sound, but it sounds a bit more technical. The Terra, on the other hand, here has a similar level of detail that blends that level of detail with musicality. It's similar to the level of detail of the Cantor. It's not, like night and day difference or, or anything like that. But I feel that the Terra adds a bit more fun into the equation. It's not as neutral as the Cantor, but adds more bass, and that bass is more physical as well, so it makes it more fun. It has a warmer, richer, and fuller mid-range, and the sub-bass there is more physical, and it could be seen as an upgrade to the Cantor for people who want a bit more of a bass boost, a warmer, fuller, sounding mid-range, and they want something that is kind of similar, to the Cantor in terms of detail, and they want something a bit more musical, something more bassier, more fun, fuller mid-range, more body, and they don't want to sacrifice pure technical performance. Let's go on to the second comparison, the Elysian Diva 2023. This is a 6PA IM that sounds smooth, has natural sounding vocals, probably the best I've ever heard, a deep rumbly sub-bass, and a bass that sounds like a dynamic driver. The Diva is great for those of you who are treble sensitive, and it has a vocal reproduction that is pretty much hard to find in other IEMs, very unique. But I feel the mid bass on the Diva is probably a bit on the light side, even with the bass switch maxed out, and I think this is where the Terra comes in. The Terra comes in with a bit more mid bass impact, a fuller sounding mid range, and a livelier treble, and this makes the whole sound a bit more engaging, a bit more lively, and for people who like that, energetic sound, they're going to like that. If you've heard the Diva and you thought you want something similar, not exactly the same at all actually, but you want some more mid-bass and you want a bit more treble than the Diva with kind of a similar technical performance, probably you're going to appreciate what the Terra delivers here. But if you want the best and most natural sounding vocals, in my opinion, there is no substitute for the Diva. Don't think about it. Let's go on to the last comparison segment, which is the DUNU Glacier. The DUNU Glacier is a tribrid IM, has what I call a super harmon tuning, meaning it has a harmon tuning that has extra bass, extra treble, making it more V-shaped compared to the Terra. I will say the Glacier is a bit more detailed, and the bass there is super clean, super textured, super detailed. Vocals are ultra clear, and the overall sound is just all about the clarity and detail. The treble on the Glacier as well is considered more open. It's airy, it's shimmery, while the treble of the Terra feels a bit more sparkly and honestly more natural sounding. However, for some people, the upper mid-range on the Glacier could be, a bit too much if you're, upper mid-range sensitive. For me, I find it perfect, but if you find it a bit too much, I think the Terra is a fantastic alternative. Or if you want something similar, again, a similar twist on the Harman target, but both in their own unique ways, I think the Terra provides something fuller than the Glacier, something with a bit more body, a bit less upper mids, and still I would say similar level of detail. The Glacier is a bit more, but I would say similar. Let's move on now to the section who I recommend the Terra to. I would say I recommend the Terra if you want an all-rounder, high-end balanced sounding IEM. I think it's a fantastic, great sounding IEM. Number two, if you want something with the Harman inspired tuning that doesn't sound thin, doesn't have a Harman tug, doesn't sound shouty or harsh, doesn't have an elevated upper mid-range. Number three, I recommend the Lime Ears Terra if you want something that basically has endgame level of detail. It's a very detailed IEM, but you don't want something that sounds technical or analytical at the same time. Number four, I recommend the Lime Ears Terra if you want something with a good soundstage. Number five, for people who like fantastic sub bass, the sub bass quality of the Terra is a standout. And of course, I recommend it for people who love forward vocals, natural sounding male and female vocals and instruments. And then also I recommend it for people who like a sparkly but natural sounding treble, and people who want a metal shell that has excellent level of outside noise isolation. Now let's talk about who I don't recommend the Lime Ears Terra to. Number one, people with small ears. Like I said, the nozzle here is a bit on the long side, and for those of you who have small ears, could be a bit tricky, so you might want to try it out first. Number two, unvented design. It doesn't have any vents, but for me personally, I didn't experience any pressure buildup issues, and I don't know anyone who has, but it's something to keep in mind, as a possibility. And number three, I don't recommend the Lime Ears Terra if you're not a fan of the Harman target, or you don't like it, or you don't like any of its variations, because this is, in my opinion, a Harman inspired tuning. Number four, I don't recommend it if you're seeking a neutral sounding IEM. This is, in my opinion, a beautiful and tasteful coloration that sounds better than neutral, in my opinion. But if you want a neutral sounding IEM, the Terra is not that. And number five, I don't recommend the Terra if you want a super strong mid-bass impact. And you know yourself, if you want even more of a stronger mid-bass boost than the Terra, I think you might want to check out other IEMs that have a strong, super strong mid-bass boost, And the last reason I don't recommend it if you are, seeking an airy treble. Like I said, there is good amount of air, there's good soundstage, and there is, the sound does sound open here, but I wouldn't describe the treble here as airy. I would describe it as sparkly and more natural and realistic sounding. That's it. Let's move on to the final section where I give the Lime Ears Terra a final rating, and I will give the Lime Ears Terra a rating of 4 stars out of 5. That means it's a great sounding IEM, has beautiful standout qualities, and it's actually something I absolutely do recommend. It gets a thumbs up for me. This is a great sounding IEM. If you ever see it at CanJam, give it a listen, and it's something I can recommend for people. That's it for my review of the Lime Ears Terra. Let me know what you think. If you have any question, leave it down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.